Hello, beautiful strangers, and welcome back to another episode of Crimson Gray. When last we left off, well, we're in a basement. Not much more we can say other than that. Just we're in a basement. We're in a basement. We're tied to a chair. Actually, that's not true. I think we're chained to a chair, technically. Could be wrong, and we might be just tried. But I think we're chained, which makes it even worse. So things are not going well for us, let's just say. Anyway, let's get back into it, shall we? And, well, I mean, what else are we going to do besides beg? Lizzie, please, just untie me. We can talk about this. No, everything is at stake. I can't take any risks. But isn't kidnapping me like this a risk? John is kind. You'll forgive me, especially if I show you how confused you've been. Just bought my desk. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. Was it even worth trying to appeal to her humanity? His only comfort was that at least she still answered and thought about it. Lizzie paced around the room for a while, muttering under her breath. Then suddenly straightened. Throwing aside the knife, it embedded itself in the wall. She went to a closet after a few seconds and, searching, emerged with a chain. Yes, this will be better. I'm sorry, John. I should have thought of this sooner. She clamped one end around his ankle, then lifted a table at one end of the room and latched the other side of the chain there. Plucking the knife back out of the wall, Lizzie cut through John's bonds with troubling speed, smiling all the while. I was getting a bit ahead of myself, apparently. We were tied with rope, now we're chained. Yes, now we're chained. But it just seems like we have a shackle on our leg and, are chained to a table. Theoretically, I mean, if she lifted it, we could probably lift it, right? Right. See? You don't have to be tied up. Here, use this table. I'll bring you whatever you need. Lizzie swept all the objects from the table like they were so much trash, then frowned down at the empty space. But you didn't bring your books because of the date. Is there anything you want me to bring for you? He stared at her, still not entirely sure how to deal with this change. Licking his lips, John spoke before he could think fully think through his words. Can I have some water? Of course, yes, water. And you slept a long time. You'll probably be hungry soon. Just wait here. While she was gone, he did his best to rub some feeling back into his wrists and look around the room. The chain attached to the table leg was fairly long. He thought he could reach most of the basement except the far end and the door at the top of the stairs. Not that he could try anything when she was nearby and could return at any moment. He did try to lift the table, though, see if he could slip the chain out from under his leg, and couldn't even budge it. The hell? Was there some trick to it, or was she just strong? Yes, Lizzie's strong. John had thought it might have been his imagination, or she was fueled by passion, but to move the table as easily as she had, that shouldn't have been possible. There wasn't time before anything else before Lizzie returned, bearing kitchen supplies. Just wait a moment, I'll make you something, and we can be together while I make it. Isn't that wonderful? Not waiting for an answer, she laid out her ingredients on one side of the table, then set up a chopping board. She began reducing vegetables to little chunks with terrifying ease, knife a silver blur in her hands. I know. Just what I want to cook today, but you can ask for whatever you want later, okay? I'll make you anything you like. Thank you. This is all I want, John. A peaceful life at home. You can stay inside, ignore everyone who wants to hurt you. I'll keep you safe, bring you whatever you need, take good care of you. And never go outside. Of course you can go outside if you want to, but right now, I'm just afraid. And there was a cat toy under my desk. Huh. His movements became more erratic, and John saw several chips of wood fly away from the cutting board. Lizzie was still smiling sweetly. I've had wood cutting boards. I have one currently, although I don't ever use it. I use a plastic one because it's easier to clean. Anyway, and it's bigger. The wood cutting board I have isn't all that big. Anyway, I've not tried to chip a wood cutting board, but hitting a cutting board and cutting stuff on it hard enough to chip it and sending chips of wood to fly away is fucking impressive. That takes a lot of strength and kind of cutting it in a specific way. From wood cutting boards that I've had anyway, it's they have a grain, and if you hit it too hard, it'll just peel along the grain. Especially cheaper cutting boards, but I don't know about like more expensive, like solid single wood pieces. So I don't know, but still, either way, that would still require a lot of strength and probably specific movements. Anyway, don't you want to, John? Or don't you want that too? Do you want to stay inside on bad days and just ignore the world? That did sound good to him. But when he shifted his legs, he heard the chain clinking along the floor. Whatever he had been meaning to say evaporated out of his mind. As absurd as it was, the day continued almost normally. Lizzie made him an elaborate meal, and they ended up chatting over it, as if everything was normal. It felt wrong to do so, but he worried that doing anything else would just antagonize her. Did she really think this would work in the end? Honestly, he had no idea. And did she really need to do so much cutting for every single dish? When they had finished and chatted for a while, Lizzie abruptly hopped back to her feet. You know, I've made things where you have to cut literally everything, and that's even for more extensive stuff, so cutting stuff isn't all that, impressive, especially if it's something like a type of soup or stew, like you're cubing meat. If you're making your own broth, you're, carving a carcass, pre-cooked carcass, you're cutting vegetables. If you're making your own stock beforehand, you're not cutting vegetables very much. You're kind of, or at least what I typically do is just kind of put them in the big pieces. If I'm using carrots, I'll cut it in half and then lengthwise. Peel still on. The onions, I'll cut in half. Garlic, I'll press. I like to add, lemongrass to chicken stew or chicken stock. It's really good. I recommend trying it, but not using too much, as it can be kind of overpowering. But it's been a while since I've done it. It's also been a while since I've been able to find lemon. Anyway, breaking the stock a bit to make sure the oils get into the thing while it's cooking. It's actually, lemongrass in it is actually really nice, as is just a little bit of lemon zest, closer to the end, as well as vinegar. But I use bones broth, and I think you have to use vinegar to get it to really work. I don't know. I'm rambling. Okay, just a minute, John. I'm going to go get you some books, okay? I don't want you to be angry with me for making you fall behind on your homework. Is there anything else you want me to get from your house? Well, you just let me know if you need anything, all right? She skipped away, and he heard the door above him close. He wondered if it could be a trick somehow, but after enough silence passed, he felt reasonably certain that she had actually gone to his house. Though she could have taken his key, he saw it was still resting on the far table along with the other things he'd been carrying. Had she made a copy at some point, or could she just pick the lock? Neither possibility was exactly comforting, but he didn't have time for that. John got to his feet, stretched, and considered his options. Ooh, another choice, an excuse for me to take a drink. I have a different sort of wine this week. It's actually really good. It is a, what is it right now? It is a white wine from Austria. Actually, what kind of wine is this? Oh, I have no idea. I don't read Austrian. It was decently cheap. under $20 for sure. I think it was like 16, 15, something like that. Anyway, it's actually really, really nice. It's I think it's a winter something white wine. It's really nice. Anyway, what was this one? Oh, right. What are we gonna do while she's gone? We can try to remove the chains, look for a weapon, look for tools, make something for Lizzie, or do nothing. Well, I don't like being chained, so let's try to get those off. John bent down and tried to find a weak point on the chain. The links themselves looked tough, but he clawed at the bolts holding the shackles around his leg and the table leg. Soon, he realized he was only going to hurt his fingers. Instead, he tried to see if he could slip his foot out of the shackle. Once he took off his shoe, though, he realized just how difficult that would be. Maybe if he could somehow dislocate something in his foot? But no, that wasn't exactly the kind of thing a normal person could just do. Reminds me of Saw. I haven't seen Saw in forever. He didn't want to give up though, so he kept trying. But in a surprisingly short amount of time, he heard the door on the floor above open. John scrambled to get his shoes and socks back on and pretended to be doing nothing out of the ordinary when Lizzie returned. If I can leave shoes and socks off, that shit's uncomfortable. Like, if I'm going to be sitting somewhere for more than like a few hours, I'm probably going to take my shoes off. I probably won't take my socks off because my feet get cold. And I don't like people looking at my feet. Anyway. Though John spent all the Saturday tense, Lizzie showed no signs of intending to hurt him. That night, she brought a mattress and bedding down to the basement and set it close enough that he could lie down on it. When he woke up on Sunday, he felt strangely normal. Still tense, the situation was far from ordinary, but in a strange way, he had to learn to deal with it. The day passed almost normally. Since Lizzie had brought him his books, he tried to work his way through his homework, just like he often did on Sunday. Lizzie stayed with him most of the day, working as well. She made meals for them both in the basement and upstairs, but she always stayed close. He hoped for a chance to evaluate his options more, but never spotted one since he was always leaning in to smile at him from the stairwell. The only useful thing he learned was that the basement door was apparently unlocked except at night. If he could somehow get unchained from the table, he had a shot of getting out. When Monday dawned, he crashed almost immediately and didn't even get out of bed. That was common for vacations when he didn't have friends to distract him, since all he could do was wallow in himself. It felt worse than usual. This world wasn't just gray. His depression filled with flecks of anger and confusion. Only then did he realize that he hadn't taken any medication since Friday morning. When Lizzie entered that morning, she immediately saw how badly he was doing and rushed to the mattress, at first fussing with his sheets before realizing the problem went deeper than that. "John, what's wrong?" "Other than you keeping me here?" "No, I'm sorry. No, if I let you go, you'll just hate me. You'll ruin everything." "Then at least bring me my Paxitine. It's in the shelf above the sink to the..." No, I won't bring it to you. I can't. I destroyed it." "What? But I needed that. You don't understand how serious my condition is, right?" "I know, I really do, but you shouldn't take their drugs, not theirs." "But you were taking something before Paxitine, right? Tell me what it was. I'll go get some for you." "I want you to be better, John, or get better, John, but I won't let you take anything from Koitek." "Okay. Well, we can tell her, we can lie, we can refuse to tell her, or we can just, tell her what our old medication was. I don't see any reason not to, just..." Thinking back, John tried to remember the medication that had seemed to do some good. Maybe they weren't as good as Paxitine, but they would be better than nothing. "Okay, just wait right here." Apparently just remembering all the chemical names he'd listed, Lizzie hopped up the stairs and practically slammed the door in her hurry on the way out. Abruptly alone, John realized that he had another chance to act. Oh. Well, we can again try to remove the chains, look for weapons, look for tools, make something for Lizzie, or don't try anything. Well, as I adjust in my chair, squeak, squeak, squeak. Oh, this chair doesn't technically squeak, it just makes noises from the material moving against itself. What do we want to do? If we find a weapon, maybe we'll be able to get the chain off. His table had been placed fairly far from the weapons lining the wall, and no amount of straining could get him close enough. But after a few unsuccessful tries, John realized he might be able to push the table even if he couldn't lift it. Though more difficult than he expected, by bracing himself on the floor and throwing his whole body into it, he could nudge the table a little at a time. After a while, that got him close enough to reach the weapons. He didn't dare take any of the ones placed carefully on the walls, but there were a number of rusty knives lying unused. One of them was slim enough he could hide it in his pocket. It might not do a lot of good, but he felt better having something to defend himself. A moment later, he was overwhelmed with a sense of dread that Lizzie would return to see the table moved. He set to work pushing it back into place. Though it was even harder to push the other way, he managed to return exactly its former position. John slumped down in his chair and let his heart calm down. An uncomfortably short amount of time later, he heard Lizzie return to the floor above. He sat calmly and tried to pretend he didn't have a knife in his pocket. Eventually, Lizzie returned, bearing a large white sack. She triumphantly emptied it out on the table, dumping an entire pile of pills in front of him. She'd gotten every drug he'd mentioned, even the prescription ones. He hated to think about the nasty consequences if she tried to give him all of these at once. But instead, Lizzie just bought him a glass of water and set it down beside the pile. "Think anything you need to get better, okay? I'll just leave these here, but you can ask me for more water whenever you want." "Thank you." "Of course, John. I'm doing this because I want you to get better." He felt like telling her being held against his will wouldn't help, but her expression looked so sincere that he couldn't bring himself to say it. How had she gotten so many prescription medications anyway? He found the one had been most satisfied with just before Miss Smith switched into Paxatine and took his first dose. Lizzie smiled brightly and skipped back up the stairs. After lunch on Tuesday, Lizzie started carrying electronics down the stairs. He blinked in confusion until she brought down the TV and started hooking everything together. Or at least attempting to. After a moment, she sighed and looked at him sheepishly. "Do you know how this works?" "I can try to get it figured out." The actual answer is, for me anyway, is yes, actually. I can probably put it together. I'm not an electronic whiz, not as good as I used to be when I was a bit younger, but I can put together 80s TV shit. Anyway, he got up and did his best to help. She had a pretty nice VCR, leading him to wonder why she had it and didn't know how to put it together. It wasn't like someone else would have bought it for her. "Do you not use this much?" "Never. I don't really watch television." "Like, at all?" "No. Yeah, me neither. I mostly watch shit on the internet." Shit, not even that. I mostly watch shit on YouTube. Occasionally Twitch, but very, very rarely Twitch at this point. Mostly just to have fucking background stuff on. Critical Role being the big one. Speaking of, final episode of Campaign 2 is really good. I watched all 7 hours in a single sitting because of course I did. It was really good though. I recommend it if you are, well, if you watch all the other episodes of the series, of course you're going to fucking watch the finale of the second campaign. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. Even got a bit misty at points, especially seeing Matt get misty at the end. Seeing Matt cry always makes me cry. Anyway, she had seemed weirdly apathetic about a lot of things, but he thought she just wasn't into pop culture. Yet now, something in her voice made him suspect it was something else entirely. "What about music then?" "I don't listen to music." "Huh? Really? Well, what about books?" Only nonfiction that seems useful. The rest all feels so pointless. Let's, God, I can't remember what it was, but not like anything like that. Not reading, music, movies, basically like external input that makes you like think or feel. I don't remember. There's a disease related to that, or a mental illness rather, not a disease. But I can't remember what it's called. I don't know. What do you do for fun then? Actually reminds me of a wrestler, Japanese wrestler, Kota Ibushi, who said, I think it was something along the lines of he doesn't like to read because it makes him see things, and he doesn't like the way that makes him feel. Or it makes him imagine things, and he doesn't like the way that makes him feel. Anyway, she stared back at him for so long, she was afraid she might just ignore the question. Well, sorry I asked. I do enjoy a few things now, thanks to you. I spent a lot of time collecting all these knives because I thought they would be useful, but now it's a little different. Now I can imagine myself protecting you. All the details about grips, edges, they're not just details now, they interest me. So he'd given her an interest in knives. Fantastic. Anyway, I thought maybe I could enjoy a movie if I watched it with you. Is that okay? You might as well try. I've had it all put together for a while anyway. We can try it. Lizzie brought a chair and sat beside him as they watched the tape. He was grateful that she at least watched the movie instead of him. It was nothing at all like how watching a film with the girl was supposed to be, according to his friends. Lizzie didn't seem remotely nervous during the scary parts, and to his surprise, didn't seem to care about the romantic parts. So, something scary romantic, and this is the late 80s. The first thing that comes to mind for late 80s horror would be A Nightmare on Elm Street, although Halloween being a possibility, although that's more of a 70s. I think the first Friday the 13th movie came out in the late 70s or early 80s. I don't remember. But if she was born in 72, this is almost 1990. This is like 88, 89 or something like that. It would have to, at least in my head, it would kind of have to be. Yeah, I don't know. If you have an idea of what you might be watching, this is probably 88, and I don't know what horror movies came out in 88. I like horror movies though. I do. And then again, he didn't think he would really want her to react that way. It definitely wouldn't feel like who she was. Thinking about now, I don't know anybody that's ever reacted, oh my god, so scared to horror movies. I've seen people that react like that on fucking like internet and shit like that, YouTube videos, and YouTubers overreacting because they're so, oh, the game is so scary. Something popped out behind the fucking branch that I walked in. What? Never mind. I hate horror YouTubers. I know people like it, and I understand why. It's not for me. It is definitely not for me. To his surprise, John found himself enjoying it too. Maybe his old meds were doing their job better than he thought. When he finally ended, Lizzie gave a small smile that he thought represented authentic satisfaction. Then she immediately turned to him. We should watch something together again, but I think I'd rather make our own movie. That can have multiple connotations. His mind immediately fast to making porn together, and he had to force the thought away. I thought more about a snuff film, but whatever. What kind of movie? I would just like to film you, here, working, or eating, or anything. I could watch it later. Really? Wouldn't that be boring? No, watching you could never be boring. Oh, this is such a good idea. I'll go buy a video recorder and... Not to cut you off, but wouldn't that be incriminating evidence? Huh? What was he saying? Well, too late to go back now. I mean, it's not legal to hold someone like this, and your basement looks kind of suspicious. You wouldn't want someone to find it later. You care. Lizzie embraced him cheerfully, and despite himself, John felt a flicker of joy. When she was happy, she seemed so purely happy. You're right, of course, and I'm so glad you're thinking about keeping me safe here, even if I want it to be the other way around. John is so kind. But maybe we can make our own movies, okay? Okay? Yeah, maybe. John had considered trying to use the tape as evidence, but quickly realized he didn't want to go there. If Lizzie had tapes of him, he could be certain she would watch them over and over. And if she did that, he had a bad feeling she would notice his escape attempts. There would be some details he couldn't hide, and then she would stop trusting him completely. No, for now, he had to focus on getting out. On Wednesday, Lizzie wanted to watch another movie, but John suggested that might be too many. Instead, they passed the day quietly, working and chatting and ignoring the fact that he was chained to the table. He was feeling better than he thought he could without Paxitine, so his mind shifted to what he could do to improve his situation. Chatting with Lizzie was pleasant, but it wouldn't resolve their problem. But what should he say? Try to leverage the last few days, the friendly days, into letting her go? Just try to make her relax more, or convince her that he wouldn't leave? So, Lizzie. Oh, we can start a conversation about her interests, start a conversation about romance, start a conversation about her peers, or start a conversation about morality. Well. I think I'll think about this for a moment and make my decision next time, where I'm pretty sure, I will be ending this route. We will be seeing our first ending. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Anyway, I hope to see you all next time.